Hey YouTube fans, Eric Hayden here in the garden. Finally a warm day here in eastern North Carolina. It seems like the whole month of February has been wet and cloudy and rainy. We've already had over 4 inches of rain this month, and it's been cold. Temperatures in the 40s for daytime highs. I know it's not the cold and ice that you're experiencing out across the central and southern part of the country. Nonetheless, not a lot of sunshine and things are pretty dormant. The point of this video is just to give you a little garden update. The middle part of February. Again, everything is dormant. We still have the hips on the roses, no leaves. As far as winter weeds go, we're looking really good. We put down a pre-emergent in the fall and again for some of these beds in the early part of winter. So that kept weeds at bay. The rose gardens, the main beds are looking good. Again, not a lot going on. Are there a couple weeds that we need to pluck? Yes. But for the most part, not a lot. The pre-emergent did a pretty good job this winter, so I don't have a lot of weeds to tackle going into the spring. As far as the roses go, we did have some temperatures into the teens, so there is some winter damage. I'll show you some of this on our potted roses, but you can see, toward the ends of the cane, some damage from the cold temperatures. Again, getting down into the teens will certainly do that. We'll just cut that out, and I'm not overly concerned because, again, we prune lightly in the fall to lower the height of the bush so it wouldn't rock back and forth. And then our final pruning will be as we warm up here in the spring. We will take the bush down maybe another 25% to get rid of any winter injury. So we kind of do it in phases. When I lived up north, we used to just pretty much prune in the spring. Anything that was dead got cut out, and sometimes you just had little 2-3 inch nubs coming out of the bud union. That was it. Here we have a lot of cane to work with, and again, keep in mind, even if you have damage on the tops of the canes, don't get discouraged. Look lower on the bush. Up north you might have to go pretty low, but all these little bud eyes that are swelling are dormant and they can stand cold. So just go lower in the bush. In the case of up north, that bud union, which is above ground here, is below ground. So even if you don't have growth to ground level, if your bud union is still alive, you're good to go. So over the next couple weeks, what are we going to be doing in the garden? Eventually some pruning once we warm up more consistently. Want to get ahead of these weeds. We don't have many of them because we did that pre-emergent. So what I'm going to do in the next week or two is come in here and just spot pull these weeds. They should come up pretty easily because we've had so much darn rain. So you can see how that comes up. When you put a pre-emergent down, you don't want to disturb the soil much. So that's why I haven't messed with them all winter. But once I get these clean out of the beds and we have zero weeds, I'm going to do a couple things. Number one, put down a pre-emergent, so preventing any spring weeds that come. And then I'll start to consider some fertilizer applications. Usually I like to wait for the soil to warm up a little bit more. They're not going to do much until those microbes can really get working above 55 degrees for a soil temperature. So first things first, get the garden cleaned up because that's going to disturb the soil, and then put down a fresh layer of pre-emergent. And I'll do that probably in the next week. The other task, a couple plans looking ahead. Most of these roses, if you look, are staked up and they're in good shape. Some of the stakes that have fallen down, we will redo those. So as far as mid-winter into spring maintenance, finish, cleaning up the beds. It seems like that's what I did in the fall, and I don't have much to do because of that. Do I have a spot weed or two? Sure. Get those cleaned up, restake the roses, do some light pruning, get the pre-emergent down. Those will be the task here over the next couple weeks. And you can see we still have some time for these roses to really come on out. Last thing I want to show you, last two things I want to show you, the potted roses. They're still pretty much inside to kind of baby them, but it's a nice day, so I brought them outside. You'll see I trimmed some of the outer canes, the tips of the cane where we had some dieback because of winter injury. Two of the roses are still pretty long. You probably didn't even notice. This one was shorter to begin with, and I just kind of left some of these over here so you could see what I'm talking about. Any of this, let me get into the sunlight, any of this dead, let me shake this one off, anything dead on the cane I removed. And sometimes you'll see this death go down the cane itself. So in this case here, I'm trying to focus this for you, it started progressing down the cane. So I removed a decent amount because you don't want that to go to the bud union. So we just lightly trim those up. We're going to be 30 tonight, so we'll put those back inside and kind of baby them along. But what you don't want is to forget about it. And the disease, in this case canker or winter injury, canker got in because of that, it'll continue to progress down the cane. And if it gets all the way to this bud union, then the whole plant can die. So as long as you leave it on the tips and take care of it in a timely fashion, it's just not really a big deal.